turned a Desi girl's diary into a thriving empire. From juggling multiple jobs to quitting everything for her blog, she fearlessly pursued her passion. With hard-earned network and an unstoppable drive, she transformed her couch and laptop setup into an entertainment company, captivating 4 million unique visitors monthly. This was the last that I saw. I'm sure it has increased. She's already taken on the world with her creative projects, accolades, and even a book sharing her journey and wisdom along the way. Please welcome the woman who blogged her way to Bollywood, Miss Malini Agarwal.
Thank you. What a lovely introduction.
It's so exciting because students, especially the generation, is so fascinated by Bollywood. And when we introduced, you as one of the guests, there were so many questions that they flooded us with, and we've shortlisted a few, and I like to shoot them right away. So Malini, you come from parents that worked with Indian Foreign Services, right? And then you took an absolutely different career course for yourself. You got into the space of e-blogging much before it was a thing, right? And what drew you into an industry which did not exist is my first question, because it is so, and especially for a female to take such a big chance, and you're not coming from an entertainment background. So how did it all start? And please tell us.
Well, it's a great question. And first of all, thank you and hi to everyone who's sending so much love. I can see all your comments, and it's really sweet of everyone to message in. So for me, actually, my journey started such a long time ago. I've been in media for the last 22 years, in fact. So on my journey, I was never, on this path that I'm going to become a content creator or a Bollywood journalist. None of that. I think I just always really followed my heart. My first job was actually a backup dancer for Sukhbir for 6 years. So I used to travel the world with him. Just like you have Shamak Davar here in Delhi, there was a troupe that was, based out of Delhi called Veronica Jacob and the Planet. So I joined them. And I think my first brush with Bollywood happened there, because we used to be the backup dancers for a lot of events. And sometimes they would be indie pop stars, sometimes Bollywood stars. And it was really interesting to see that life, and I used to, in fact, my first career aspiration was to be a VJ, because a lot of VJs used to come and they used to host those shows. And I always thought they're the coolest thing. So I actually auditioned to be a VJ a couple of times with both MTV and Channel V. And when I moved to Bombay, I think I was 21 years old. I moved to Bombay all by myself with 40,000 rupees in my bank account, which is not a lot of money to move to Bombay with. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I didn't know anyone here. But then I joined a company which helped set up the first .com for the midday website called Chalu Mumbai. And this is back in like the year 2000, where websites were just beginning. They used to be called portals, if you remember. And so I think I was always sort of inclined to that world. And then private radio had started. So I ended up joining a private radio station as a radio jockey. So it was the next best thing to being a VJ, as I thought. And I did that for 9 years. But alongside, I did lots of little other things. The blog actually started because the radio station was owned by Midday, the newspaper. And they gave me a column 20 years ago called Malini's Mumbai. And I think looking back, that was almost the analog version of MissMalini.com at the end of the day. So it was really, really, unplanned. But now when I look back, I think it all makes sense, and everything happened that, happened for a reason. And I started the blog back in 2008 as a hobby while I was still working at the radio station. And then I was still doing radio shows. And then I moved to Channel V as their digital content head, because this whole industry was so, new, but exciting. And, that was the time where everything was television first and all the digital content would come second. Like we would get the scraps of the, edit floor to use on, social media, and not even social media at that time. We just barely had Facebook, but there would be a lot of, micro sites that would be created for every show that happened. So I think like now looking back at it, it seems pretty crazy and it all makes sense, but it was never really planned. So how I got into it, and the whole, especially the Bollywood piece, is because I started my column and I started writing about lifestyle. And because when you have a column in the newspaper, people invite you everywhere. And so I started going to a lot of things, and I would cover the art and the music and the events and the celebrities. And then one day on my radio show, I decided that I'm going to start inviting celebrities to come and co-host the show with me. And it actually happened through social media, because there was another RJ called Mihir Joshi who used to do a show. He's one of the, iconic RJs. And he once tweeted me and Imran Khan saying that, oh, Imran, you should listen to Malini's show. She plays the kind of music you like. Because I used to be on Go 92.5 that used to play English music in the evening. And so I actually just tweeted him back saying, would you come co-host the show with me? Never thinking that he's going to say yes. And then he said, I will if you let me call the show Pirate Radio. And then it just all fell together. And it's the first time I sat across from a Bollywood celebrity listening to his favorite music, all English songs, and not talking about Bollywood. But that was kind of the beginning of this journey. But I guess the lesson to be learned there is if you don't ask, you never know what could happen. And it's a lot about his manifesting, right? If you would think that he's never going to do it, but then you think, okay, should I even ask? But I was like, okay, what's the harm, So I guess that's kind of how it came about. And I burned him a CD of our conversation. And just recently he messaged me, he said, I'm listening to that CD of our conversation in my car so many years later. So it's quite crazy that that's how it happened.
And we manifested, and we asked you the question, would you come and be a part of this? So I'm glad we asked you. Here you are. No, but it is so exciting to, see you take up something which was not planned and go with the flow, grasp all the opportunities that you got, and it's really inspiring. And now you've become, like, you think of Bollywood news, and you think of MissMalini.
I'm happy to hear that.
But and now at that time when you started back in 2008, there was no term called as an influencer, as content creators, and now we see every other person is trying. I mean, there's nothing wrong, but it's flooded, right? Yeah. The internet is flooded with content creators, digital influencers. How have you maintained? How have you been able to keep MissMalini still so relevant, still at the top of the industry when it's completely flooded? Like when you started, I'm sure it was new, and now with so many people and so many people doing such a great job, yet MissMalini has some other standard and it has its own place. So how have you maintained that?
That's so sweet. Thank you. I think it's a couple of things, honestly. I think one of the things somebody told me, actually, I think Anupam Mittal told me this. Now, of course, you know him. He's an influencer himself on Shark Tank. He said that you've created a legacy brand when you appeal to more than one generation. Oh, my best friend is here. Hi, Parul. I miss you. So basically, what happened is that there's a couple of things. One, I tried to identify a gap in the market. I've always loved Bollywood, fashion, lifestyle, but I always felt that the way that it's covered, especially in Indian media, is a little more of, okay, celebrity spotting in front of a checkered backdrop, and that's what you see. Or it's a little bit negative, a fashion police, or who wore it better, or, some sort of gossip that you would never say to someone's face. So I decided that I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm gonna really channel all my love for Bollywood entertainment into whatever medium I find. So first it was radio, then it became the website, and I think the other thing that's really kept us relevant today is reinvention. I tell everyone that we started off as a website, as a blog. Now nobody calls himself a blogger, right? When I started out, there was no word content creator or influencer. Now all these words have come about. So I've never been afraid of trying new platforms. So even whether Clubhouse launches or Threads has launched, I will be the first to try that. As much as people say, oh, I don't get it, or even when TikTok started or Snapchat started, you must reinvent. And today you have to go to where the audience is. There was a time when you waited for people to come, buy your product or come to you. Now everybody lives in this very virtual reality. And I think in the pandemic, we realized that even more. So I think the key for us has been continuously evolving. We started off as a blog that was just, one girl's hobby blog, and then we expanded out. So never be afraid of doing that. And then as a result, because we didn't force ourselves to put ourselves in a box that we are only a Bollywood blog, so we can only do that, we said, okay, why don't we do a TV show? So we've now done 6 seasons of television, which was kind of the first of its kind reality show about influencers and content creators, called MissMalini's World, maybe 10 years ago. So I think it's really not even so much about staying relevant. It's about constantly reinventing yourself. And I think that's true for any career you pick, whether it's not that necessarily that you can reinvent the wheel every time, but you can have a fresh perspective on how you do your job. When you start to feel jaded, take a break or do something that inspires you so you get new ideas. Otherwise, you end up, as much as we want to call, social media is supposed to be social, but we fall into a pattern that, okay, every day we post at this time or we do this, and it becomes very robotic, and then it loses its sort of edge or the magic, so to speak. So I think it's really key to keep reinventing.
No, absolutely. And reinventing, especially in the age where trends keep changing every day, is so important to stay relevant. But you spoke about the pandemic, and the pandemic has especially impacted the current generation. They are constantly on their phone, they're hooked to their phone. They've embodied that thing of instant gratification, right? Everybody wants to be, famous by just posting a few reels, and they see it as a very glamorous industry, which gives them instant gratification, like I mentioned. Would you like to share some insights on the fact that it's not just glam? There's so much more that goes behind it. If you could, because I think it's very important for youngsters to know about it, that entertainment is not just entertainment when you are at the front.
So I saw a meme today that I thought was so accurate that said, being famous on Instagram is like being a billionaire in Monopoly money, which is so true, right? Like, it's because we've created this world for ourselves, which is all about the number of likes, the number of followers. But what does that actually mean? I'm actually writing my second book. It's coming out in January. It's called Under the Influence. And it really unpacks this, that I really feel we need to unsee the numbers and start to see the people again. Because, when you look at your Instagram post and you see, okay, 10 likes or 100 comments or 100, whatever many comments or likes, you only see a number. You forget that these are human beings. And if you really unsaw the numbers or clicked on that number and then went and saw the faces behind it, you'd realize that, hang on, these are real people. And I always encourage people to think about it this way. Sometimes you feel like, oh, my post only got 10 likes or 50 likes and it didn't do well, or it didn't got this many views. Imagine if you were standing in a room and 50 people came up to you and said, oh, I like what you did. You'd be overjoyed. The problem with this like and number count, that there's no limit to that desire, right? You can never have enough of something that means nothing, because it'll never mean anything. So the guy with 10 million followers wants 100 million. So it's never enough. So I think my advice, and I'm also always on my phone, and people always ask me, how do I do a digital detox? I do it slightly in an unorthodox way. I choose to follow accounts that inspire me. I choose to read or play games or do things that make me happy. And you can too, I think the first question to ask yourself, if you want to be, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to be an Instagram influencer. I've made a whole career out of it. But think about what kind of influence you're being. Are people coming to your feed and leaving happier or unhappier than when they came? I think that's what's really, really important. And my advice is, first of all, I salute the generation that is born with technology in their hand. Literally, they're so adept at doing everything. We had to learn everything. I still struggle to edit my own reels, but for people it's just so quick and easy. Yeah. So I don't think we should discount it. I don't think there's anything negative to say about a generation that has been dealt this hand of living online. And it actually is an opportunity to use this connection with the world. Like, you and I are sitting so far apart, this would not have been possible to see each other face to face and have a conversation. 1,123 people being part of a conversation where normally it might be impossible to even hear what someone's saying or feel that connect. So I think instead of looking at it in a negative way, is to say that, okay, we have this great technology that allows us to be almost superhuman and connect with people at a scale that's not otherwise humanly possible. How are we using that? And how are you, as an influencer or someone who wants to be famous, what do you want to be famous for? Do you want to be famous just for beautiful pictures? Do you want to be famous just so somebody recognizes you on the street? Or do you want to be famous because you said something that made a strong and meaningful impact on someone? And I feel like over the years, maybe I've also learned this. It's not like I, was born with this thought. Even when I started out, I did the usual traditional Bollywood gossip. But I think now I feel really happy that the messages that are coming even in the comments are saying, oh, it's inspiring, or you're saying something of value. I think that even in my new book, the whole premise is, what if I told you today that the most important currency in life is positivity? Ask yourself, how much are you worth? And that's the real question to answer. How rich are you in positivity? And, a lot of times we feel internet fatigue and sadness that, oh, we didn't get enough likes. I put in so much effort in this piece of content. But, everybody feels that way. Even to this day, I feel that way. So I've turned off being able to see the number of likes or even displaying it, because I don't want it to be about that. I want to enjoy the content that I create. And I think that that's what's really amazing, is that if you think about this, there's something called the helper's high. You know how you talk about dopamine. You get dopamine every time you get a like or someone sends you a notification. You can be the creator of dopamine for someone else. So I've made myself a new rule. Whenever I feel down about my content, I'll go to someone else's page and leave a comment, or I'll like something, or I'll follow someone. And that makes me feel good. Think about every time you've done something nice to someone, for someone, you've never felt like, well, that wasn't worth it. You made someone else feel good, and then you felt good. And that's literally called a helper's high. And the beautiful thing is, how much you give is always in your control. So the more you give, the more dopamine you get. Now, how amazing is that, to not be helpless to somebody else giving me the dopamine? You actually can elevate yourself and be the one who gives other people that feeling. And that's what I really love about the internet. And so I think for anyone who's feeling sluggish or upset that people are not, you know, acknowledging them, go acknowledge someone else. I promise it comes back 100-fold. Like a little thing you might have noticed when you post something and someone leaves a comment, you go and see, oh, who is this person? Like who came and left, and you'll go look at their picture, you might go look at their profile, and that's how you will actually grow your own engagement much more.
And I loved what you mentioned in the beginning about not seeing those likes as just numbers, but as people. And I think that's such a, and even the thing about the biggest currency being that of positivity. I think it's such a good take back for this generation. But I also wanted to ask that now that people are, there are good content creators who've come, who've inspired us, how do these social media platforms or social media creators interact? Are they like competitors, or do you guys see yourself as codependent platforms? And how is it set apart?
You're talking about the actual platforms?
Yes, the platforms.
I mean, I think for the platforms, it's amazing. It's almost like I would consider the platform your stage, right? So you're a content creator and you can choose your platform based on what kind of audience you're looking for. So if you want long form video content, you're going to YouTube. If you're doing short form, you might be going to TikTok and Reels. So I think that they don't look at the creators as competitors at all. I think that they're the enablers, right? Why am I spending hours and hours on Instagram? Is because I'm following certain creators that I love. And I think what's interesting is that it's become quite an organized industry. I mean, I started 15 years ago, and I've seen the change from even I think the creators of the platforms didn't expect what eventually happened. That so many creators have become such huge celebrities and stars. And it's very, democratic. You know, there was a time where you had to know someone or have certain money to even produce a piece of content or needed to be able to buy a slot on to show it somewhere. Now you can just go and post it up just using a smartphone. So I think that the platform has been a great help and enabler to creators. I don't think that they're in competition. I think that platforms encourage good content. And, as much as we all blame the algorithm, I think the algorithm's intent is to help you find the content that you're most interested in. Then, of course, there's always every different kind of way. Everyone's trying to hack the algorithm or add a hashtag, or even you upload a reel using a trending song and mute that. We all do these things, right? But I think at the end of the day, the goal really is that technology has progressed so far that today you can connect with any corner of the world that has internet access, and that's just incredible. I mean, I'm from that generation that used to write handwritten letters and wait 2 weeks to get for it to reach, and then another 2 weeks to get a reply. So it's almost mind-boggling to me that this even exists, this technology exists. And I think that, you can always look at things through a lens of competition. You can always look at things in that way. But if you look at things through the lens of, okay, what is the best I can do for someone else and that they can do for me? Everybody wins. I'm reading a great book called Humankind, and I highly recommend everyone read it. I'm forgetting the author's name, but it's called Humankind. And it really unpacks the journey of the thought that what if we believed in the kindness of others? And in most times of crisis, the human race does step up. And of course, in the media, you hear a lot of negative stuff as well. And I'm not saying there's no terrible people in the world. But even if you look at things like when there were the floods in Bombay or there was the pandemic, people step up for each other. And there's, intrinsically, the instinct is to care for another human being. And so if you look at people through that lens, you will read their comments in a tone that isn't negative. Otherwise, sometimes without punctuation, without the right emoji, you might say, oh, this person's being mean. I'm sure you've seen a ton of reels and memes that document this, right? Like, oh, he said it this way. So I think it's about giving people a chance. I actually did this social experiment. I started something called Malini's Girl Tribe, and it's a community for women, and I encourage everyone to join it. It's on Facebook and Instagram, Girl Tribe by MissMalini. And there we added all these women. Now there's 100,000 women, and everyone is so supportive. And people are there to give advice from every corner of the world without judgment. So I think that these pockets exist. I just don't think they get enough spotlight.
It's just using these platforms as enablers and becoming an enabler yourself in order to create more positivity. But on that note, I'm just deviating a little. What do you think about Threads? Because when it was launched, everybody was so
excited about it.
Excited. And do you think it's gone down a little, or do you think it's going to pick up again?
So I don't know the actual numbers, but I can tell you from my experience, I was super excited because I used to love Twitter. I love writing. So I found myself spending more time on Threads than Instagram the first few days. But then, life kind of happened, and then I got back into my routine. But I do think about it once in a while and open it again. What I liked about Threads initially, and I hope it still stays that way, is that everyone sort of arrived on Threads with their best foot forward. Nobody was saying nonsense. Everyone was being nice to each other, being polite. And it was so nice, it was so refreshing. And that's what we expected the internet to be like when we first got on. And that's kind of why I'm writing my second book, is that now we use the internet as a dumping ground for all our negative emotions, and you'll say anything to anyone, but you wouldn't behave that way in real life. You wouldn't. And the rule I have for all my content is that, I will never write anything I can't say to somebody's face. Now, if you apply that rule even to your comments, we'll think about how you reply. Because there's a great movie called, I think it's called Social Dilemma, which I saw on OTT, I think it's on Netflix. And it really unpacks this, that, as a human race, we were not equipped to deal with so many people's judgment all the time, constantly. And the opinions that matter are those of what the opinion you have of yourself, and those of your closest friends and family and your mentors. Some random person who doesn't know you at all. Again, I saw another great meme that said that, if somebody says something negative about me or makes a judgment about me, I ask them, do you have my phone number? Because if you don't have my phone number, that means you don't know me well enough to make that judgment about me. And I think next time you get a comment that hurts you, or you feel that, oh, that's unfair, think about it. Does this person have your phone number? Do they know you well enough to make this judgment? Or are they coming from a very half-baked or attention-seeking place, and you will take it less personally?
That makes absolute sense. And what you said about Threads as well, that when it started, it was like a place of how internet should be, all fun and positivity.
But it's not. And the thing is, I think that we make the mistake of saying how the internet should be. But actually, another friend of mine who's an influencer, King of Clubs in, he told me this. He said that, we always talk about the internet as a toxic place, a negative place. But, we have to remember that the internet is not some alien nation that showed up that now we have to deal with. We are the internet. So we are social media. So anything that we say is being toxic or whatever is all on us. So we have to have a behavioral shift. Like today, you couldn't walk down the street and abuse someone or attack someone without consequences. Many years ago, probably there were less consequences. Similarly, in our virtual reality, because we thought, oh, it's only the internet, it's not taken that seriously, there are no rules, there's no, neighborhood watch. So we made that same mistake, but we can still change it, to be honest.
No, absolutely. And what is your future? What is your vision for MissMalini now? What next for MissMalini?
So exciting news. MissMalini was acquired last year by Good Glam Group. So now we're part of a much bigger family. We have a lot of sister media companies like Scoop Whoop, Tweak, Pop XO, Baby Chakra. It's really, really exciting. And then, of course, we have Good Brands. Then we have Good Creator Co. So for me, I'm really excited about building out Good Creator Co. And one of the things I've started doing is doing events pan India. So if you follow Good Creator Co. or my personal handle or Good Creator Lounge in Bombay, we do a lot of physical events. And I'm sure you've been seeing, I've been doing really fun Emily in Paris themed brunches. I've been doing Wiggles parties. So I'm trying to connect influencers with brands, and not just macro influencers, but even micro and nano. So if there is, and I'm also now a mentor on the Go Digital Affairs Select panel. So if you are an aspiring creator and you want to begin and you want to know how to make it as a creator, please DM me. I'll connect you up with the right team. I'm very excited to sort of help the next generation of creators find their footing, give them the tools they need to succeed, whether it's in content or having that community, because I think community is really important. And one of the things that I'm really lucky to have is that because I lived so much of my life offline. I have a lot of human friendships made in IRL, in the real world, um, in real life. So I think it's really important to take social media connections and friendships offline. When you see someone, you look into their eyes, it's a very different experience. So I really encourage you to do that. Thank you, Samin, who's sending all these sweet messages. Yes, Japanese knowing. So the Good Creator Co. is a community which is the largest network for content creators and influencers. We also enable people to sort of build their own brand, also do, you know, influencer marketing. So a lot of exciting things in that space. And for me, like I said, I'm writing my second book, working on some more television shows. And I always feel you have to constantly evolve. You know, I feel that you have to...
Can I ask what the second book is about?
So it's called Under the Influence, and it's really about my journey as an influencer and sort of a guidebook. I think the guidebook that we never got on how to be a good person online.
That's so exciting. And I think there are so many of our team members and also people from I.I.M.U.N across the city who would love to be a part of that and be mentored by your team. So I'm sure we'll
just follow Good Creator Co. You'll find all the information there. We also feature a lot of creators on MissMalini Trending. You know, there's lots of different platforms. So I'm really excited to have expanded out my universe by doing this.
Perfect. For that, we do this quick rapid fire thing.
Sure.
Although we don't have Kejo's hamper with us.
That's okay.
But let me ask you. I'll say something and you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Yeah.
Sure.
When I say MissMalini,
Supernova.
When I say content,
is Queen.
When I ask you to choose between Bollywood classics or the latest blockbusters.
Oh man, I'm gonna go with recreating Bollywood classic songs in new reels.
When I say one fashion trend that you would never try again.
I mean, I think I've tried a lot of things that I would never try again. I never really got into the whole peplum skirt thing. So.
The most memorable celebrity interview that you've had?
Oh, I've had a bunch, but I think the most memorable is probably, I mean, there's two. I'm going to tell you about two. So one was my first interview with Shah Rukh Khan. Of course, I waited hours for it because he was doing his Happy New Year promotions and I wasn't sure how long it's going to take. And then I remember, you know, literally my slot was 4 p.m. and my 7 p.m. and it came at 4 in the morning. So I waited 8 hours for this interview and the whole team was like, should we leave? I'm like, I'm not leaving. And then we went and we, you know, gave him cupcakes and we played charades. And it was really fun because he was like, MissMalini, why don't you find a nice boy and get married? And I'm like, actually, I've brought my husband with me. And will you teach him the Shah Rukh Khan air hug? And he was so sweet and he has so much presence. And I realized that even though, you know, you can wait so long for him, in 1 second, that whole fatigue, you know, just washes off. And the other one was when Amitabh Bachchan was doing his promotions for Pink. He came in wearing these pink sunglasses. And he has a really dry sense of humor. And he was standing there and I was doing a Facebook Live and I was like, hey guys, I'm here with Amitabh Bachchan. And he stopped me and he said, why did you say hey guys and not hey girls? And I was mortified. I was like, oh no. But it was a good point. And then my father actually had studied in Allahabad University. I was born in Allahabad. And he used to study under Harivansh Rai Bachchan. So he had a handwritten letter from Amitabh Bachchan's father saying you're a great student. And I'd taken that with me to get it signed by Amitabh Bachchan for my dad. And then when he saw it, he sort of like really like softened up and he said, yeah, that's my father's handwriting. Can I keep this? And I'm going to make a book one day of all the letters that have been written by my father to people because he was such eloquent and, you know, writer. And I thought that was so amazing. And of course, I let him keep it because Amitabh Bachchan wants to keep something, you let him keep it.
Yeah. What legends, both of them, Amit ji and Shah Rukh. But yeah, I mean, such great experiences being in this field. I'm sure when you started out, you never thought and you achieved all of them. The last ones would be, if you were a Bollywood character, which one would you be?
Oh, if I was a Bollywood character, which one would I be? It's a tough one. Every time I see different characters, I always imagine myself as them. But I think, like, I kind of like the whole Kangana story in Queen. I love Priyanka Chopra in Dostana. I love Deepika and so many of her characters. I think I see a little bit of myself because that's what they do. That's what Bollywood does so well, right? They remind you of yourself. They're so relatable.
Yeah, and these are all strong self-made women. So I think we see you as them. My last would be India. When I say India, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
I think I would say it's the country of dreams, just like Bombay is the city of dreams.
Perfect. Yeah. Maybe you could just leave a message for all these young people.
Sure.
Your
So
message to the young India.
amazing. So, well, first of all, thank you for over 1,000 people staying and listening to me. That is very heartening, and it makes me feel that I've said something that's worth listening to. I have one message that I tell everyone, and I actually wrote a chapter to my 18-year-old self in my first book. And I'm going to leave you with that message, which is about what I think you are so rich in. You might not think of yourself as very wealthy right now, but just like I say, the most valuable currency on the internet is positivity. The most valuable currency in life is time. And you, at your age, have so much of it. You have so much time to make mistakes, to fall in love, to have your heart broken, to have experiences, to make core memories. And I am so excited for you to spend this time having these incredible experiences. So, two pieces of advice that people gave me, and I've always held by it, is never wish time away. You know, if you might be sitting on a Tuesday saying, oh, I wish it was Friday. No, so much could happen on Wednesday, Thursday that, you know, you don't want to pass by because it's not going to come back. You know, you're always, you know, youngest you're ever going to be right now. And then the other one is to keep busy. Keep your mind busy. Never feel that you can't do more than one thing at a one time. I love being a master multitasker. And multitasking doesn't mean necessarily overloading yourself. It means keeping your mind occupied. Sometimes you have to do things that pay the bills and do your passion project at night until you can make that your career. So I'm excited for you. I think you have your whole life ahead of you, and I look forward to watching you shine. Thank you all for watching.
How beautiful. That was such a beautiful note to end this on.
Thank you.
For everybody who joined us, I hope all of you are high on the helper's high and are rich with the currency of positivity always.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Malini. It was an honor to do this with you.
Thank you. And you're such a good host. You did an absolutely amazing job. I think everyone should drop some hearts for our wonderful host today.